Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
School boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance, innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
What's up? What's up?
This week, we're discussing the comedy? I don't know what it is. Reefer Madness.
Cautionary tale, brother. It's a cautionary tale.
100%. And we could all learn from it. Reefer Madness from 1936. So you get to enjoy that.
Yes.
Each week on the podcast, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics, generally from the horror and sci-fi genres, sometimes from whatever the hell this is, with a comedic twist. Aaron, what's the latest with you?
Oh my God, I was just sharing with you, it's Polaroid week starts Sunday, the Lord's Day, the anniversary of Columbine and Hitler's birthday.
And
so
Easter?
I set this up to do this. I'm trying to recreate this picture, but I don't have a blue background, so I had this. So I set this up and walked away for a second. Shredded. Cat
Gremlin
jumped on it to try to climb it and rip the whole thing to shreds. First time using it. Thanks, Amazon.
So it's Amazon's fault that you have unruly cats. Interesting.
Yeah. But it's literally made out of shit. I don't even know what this fabric is. But these are the kind of bargains you get on Prime Day. A thing where it falls over, it rips to shreds. It is, in fact, a fabric.
That's pretty standard. Ain't no lie. Ain't no lie. We don't look. It's Jeff Bezos. You kind of get what you get, and you don't. Get
That's
upset.
right. Well, you got to help him pay for that wedding he's going to have, where he's taken over the entire town of Venice, Italy, for his once in a lifetime. Let's have a billionaire's wedding.
Well, if not Venice, it'll be the moon. Basically,
it'll be the moon. It'll be like the Kardashians did Florence. Jeff Bezos decided they needed to top him in Venice. Perfect.
It's crazy. And I hate him so, and yet I use Amazon every GD day. I can't help it.
Oh my God. Lord help us. Where's the substitute? I can't even replace this because that's like from China. So now it'll be 150% more.
100%. No question. It's a sad, sad situation. And in lighter news, you and I are both on spring break for a few more days at least.
Yay! So. And I've been sick the whole time. Yay! I wake up with an earache, chest congestion. I begged my doctor secretary for like just a 5-minute consultation. Couldn't they please just call something in? And she left. She's like, they should be able to talk to you for like 2 minutes. Let me go grab them. No, they can't talk to you. I was what?
Right.
They're like,
you could have leprosy, tuberculosis, and anything.
They're like, you can go to urgent care. I'm like, you go to hell. I'm not going to goddamn urgent care.
Wah, wah. Well, I've been spending my spring break. I went back and I watched, because they had the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. And I haven't really watched it, truly watched it in probably 30 years. Watched it in 30 years. But every, once in a while, I'll kind of pop in for a little while. Ooh, interesting. But I went on Peacock, and Peacock allegedly has all the seasons of Saturday Night Live.
So
And
did you
I'm
watch
like,
season 1?
I see, I'm too young to give two shits about the first so many
But
seasons.
you know who the whole cast was. I
I
would think
know
you are
John
focused.
Belushi. I know Dan Aykroyd. I know the rest of the gang, but I don't really care about the first 5 years. Is that blasphemy? Perhaps it is.
Maybe.
In my mind, the apex of Saturday Night Live was when it was Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman, those characters. Adam Sandler was there, Chris Farley towards the end of that run. Probably like 87, 92, and I'm probably being generous, that period right there. So I went back and I'm like, I'm gonna watch some of these episodes. And I'm like, they cut out the musical guest. Cool. I always hate the musical guest anyway. I feel
Perfect.
it's a waste of my goddamn time. Get rid of that
I
shit.
remember tuning in once, and it was just a 90-minute Ray Charles concert. Like, there were no skits. It was like the cast sitting around listening around a piano to Ray Charles. I'm like, what the is this?
That was the early days where it was very much like they didn't know what the show was yet. So there would
Ugh.
George Carlin just come out and do like a comic like monologue. Then somebody
Well,
else
they
would come out
still
and play the
have the
banjo for 10
monologue.
minutes. But I mean, just like spontaneously in the middle of the show. I'm not talking about the opening monologue. I'm
Oh,
like,
Lord.
hey, here's Penn and Teller. They're gonna come out and do some random stuff in the middle of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching it, and what I'm realizing is not only did they cut out the musical guests, but they also cut out like half the sketches. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, what is this? So I get Dennis Miller doing his thing, which is fine, whatever. And then maybe one or two other sketches, and that's the whole episode. And usually,
What the
it's not even
hell?
it's not even the best parts. Like I watched the one where it's the William Shatner episode, and there's two sketches that I know from that episode that I think are hilarious. There's the Star Trek convention where William Shatner goes, "Get a life, will you, people?" It was just a TV show. That was
Yeah.
hilarious. Not they didn't show it. They did not. And then there's the other one was the lost ending of "It's a Wonderful Life," which was
And they didn't
hilarious.
show that?
They didn't show that either.
I think
Instead,
it's on the Christmas episode, though.
right. So it was two episodes, neither of the funny ones, and they kept re-showing the same like Faco commercials. Like 3 episodes in a row, it was about how remember they had the Yugos were popular. I don't know if they
Yes.
were popular, but they existed from Yugoslavia.
I knew a girl who had a Yugo. At the end of the Yugo run, it was a buy one, get one. So you could drive one and use one for parts. Because there is no Yugoslavia, of course, anymore.
There is no Yugoslavia. But since the joke was Adobe, which was a $179 car from Mexico. And that's how
it was
hilarious.
made out of Adobe.
It was made out of clay. So if you crashed into something, you could just fix it, just mold it. Not particularly, it was like whatever. But the fact that they would use it as like a filler on multiple episodes just to get to the half hour point where you could actually release the episode, I'm very disappointed. That's all I'm saying.
First of all, they were like 90 minutes. So the red flag is it's 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
This is all, we don't want to pay people.
Right.
That's why they cut the musical guests. That's why that's trash. You should complain.
I mean, I don't think they give a damn. It's like whatever you say. So
fight the power.
Fight the power, 100%. So that's neither here nor there. Why don't we reel it back in? Aaron, give us your 30-second synopsis of Reefer Madness, also called Tell Your Children.
Basically, it's a public service announcements for parents in the 1930s to be on the lookout that jazz cigarettes are getting into the hands of your children, and that it will cause insanity, rape, and murder. And it's the tale of a young boy who innocently did not say no. He said, okay. And his life was destroyed. 2 families destroyed. His girlfriend's dead. He's set up. He's going to get executed because it's the 30s, so they don't give a They're literally showing a noose swinging by, and everybody's like, "Kill this fucker." I don't care if he's in high school. Kill him.
This is important. This is important. Before we continue, we were on an episode of the Collateral Cinema podcast earlier this week talking about this same movie. So if you'd like their perspectives, please go check it out. We had a great old time. But as always, if we go on another
I mean,
podcast,
let's be
go ahead.
clear. Listen to ours first. Give us a 5 rating, and then go listen to theirs.
We're not saying stop the recording. We're not
And
saying
immediately switch over.
I'm not saying switch over immediately. I'm saying listen to this good stuff, and then slide over for a little more, for an aperitif. Who's to say? Digestif?
Who's to
I don't know.
say?
Who's to say? Because we always like to pick the last few bones of the carcass when we go on another show to talk about it.
We're cracking the
definitely gonna
bones
talk.
and sucking out the marrow.
100%. We're chewing on them
Clan of the
bones.
Cave Bear.
Like when you when the dog gets at the Thanksgiving turkey and you're like, this ain't gonna look good. That's basically what we're bringing to the table, literally and figuratively.
Boom.
So good times had by all. Another thing I want to mention, Aaron, is 2 episodes ago I edit, as you know, and I like to edit out all the F words for comedic sake, mainly, but mostly because
Because you're
there
a
must
fucking
be
Puritan. Edit that out.
what moment you get to the 200 F-bomb, ceiling, it's a bit much. So some episodes
Is it a bit much?
you can
or
tell the
a
first
bit-
5 minutes how
right.
much editing I'm gonna have to do because Aaron
Dude,
gets
just
on a
make the
roll.
podcast NC-17.
It's already NC-17, pretty much. It's like banned in certain countries. It's like Cannibal Holocaust, depending on how many
Dude.
F-bombs.
It's banned in Thailand. It's banned in Greater China. It's banned in Iran. Just
Correct.
accept it.
Just accept it.
It's rated the same as hardcore pornography, although that is an interesting podcast. On a side note, I once gave a gift to somebody's husband, and it was audio pornography in stereo. So you listen to the headphones, and it sounds like you're surrounded by an orgy. I'm gonna message them, see if they still have that.
I
So
always
it's just
tell the story.
audio.
Just interesting. I always tell the story of, I think it was the first Mother's Day that Becky had.
And you got her hardcore pornography?
I got her. I knew that she liked to read. I knew she liked kind of Western motifs from time to time. And I knew she occasionally liked the occasional romance novel. So I went on
Spicy
Amazon
talk.
and I typed in cowboy romance novel. And 2 popped up, and the first one was like, To Love a Cowboy. And I'm like, sounds good. The second one said, Twice the cowboy, twice the ride. And I still said, well, good enough.
Must be about horses.
I bought them, and I gave them to Becky. She opened it up in front of her mom, and like our families were there, and she quickly looked at it the children. She quickly looked at it and said, like, is this gay porn? And they were. There were two books on gay porn about the cowboy motif.
Well, did she read it
I returned
anyway?
them.
Oh,
She did not highlight certain passages. No, we returned them, and at that point, I was forever scarred, which is why I'm a horrible gift giver. Because I figured, if it's that bad, it's only going to get worse. So,
speaking of gift giving,
please.
You gave me an envelope of cash for my birthday this year, and it reminded me immediately of the Seinfeld episode where Kramer gave Elaine this very beautiful, thoughtful gift, and Jerry gave her an envelope of cash. And she's like, "Are you my Uncle Morty? What is this?" And now I do. I don't want to say I don't appreciate your gift, but that was the first thought in my head.
Is this Uncle Morty? Look, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Am I right?
It is.
100%.
It's true.
So now, had you ever seen Reefer Madness before?
I've seen it many times.
Many times. See, this was my maiden voyage. I had never seen. I obviously had heard of it, I think they talked about how in the 70s, because it was made in the 30s, obviously, but in the 70s, it kind of had a resurgence, kind of an ironic resurgence. So I'd heard
I
of it,
did
but
see it in the 70s.
Aaron, come on. You saw it. You saw it all the time. But I had never seen it before. But I knew it was about the terrors and the horrors of smoking a J on occasion. So fair
Yeah.
enough. Good grief. But do you remember when you first saw it?
I can't remember when I first saw it.
Elementary
I'm
school?
guessing a, a VHS was involved or something. I do remember, like, near the end of the DVD world, where Walmart would just have bins full, just
Mm-hmm.
like sacks full of bootleg DVDs for like 99 cents. Fishing out Reefer Madness, Night of the Living Dead, and a couple of other things for like
Well,
bone cheap.
it's interesting you mentioned Night of the Living Dead because it was the same kind of situation where in both cases the makers of the movie messed up the copyright. They screwed it up. So like instantly these both movies became just like public domain. So any
Right.
rando, like literally I could go print up a bunch of Blu-rays of Night of the Living Dead and Reefer Madness in my garage and sell them, and that's perfectly legal. So there you go. Good to know. I mean, maybe that's the new job. Now, I read somewhere that New Line Cinemas, the guy Robert Shea, who formed New Line, who later became, the house of Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever, he made his
Right.
initial fortune because he went and saw, like back in the 60s or whatever, saw a midnight show of Reefer Madness and realized he could tell just by, like, when they put up the information that they had screwed up the copyright and immediately, like, said, okay, started selling copies of Reefer Madness and made money like that. So there you go.
Interesting. I just would have.
Interesting.
I mean, how long does a copyright last? I mean, this is 1936.
That's an
I
excellent
don't
question.
know.
I don't know how long. Like when does because again on Amazon, you can buy copies of like the complete works of Sherlock Holmes or
Right.
Jules Verne or whatever, and you pay like $5 and get like 30 books or something
But
ridiculous.
then there's other like authors where they're still on clampdown. I think Pooh is still on clampdown. I think
Wait a
Peter
minute,
Pan is
Pooh is
still on
still
lock.
on. Who's Pooh, by the way?
Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
Oh my
I
God,
didn't know.
you're like a psychopath.
Maybe I am. I often wonder. He's Winnie the Pooh. Everyone calls him Pooh, but no one ever calls him Winnie.
No one calls him Winnie.
Why not?
Plus, that is a
Is
woman's name. It's like Winifred. Why would it be
Winifred the
Winnie the
Pooh?
Pooh? But we
I,
don't know.
unclear.
They're not
Unclear.
anatomically correct. And in Disney Pooh, it is voiced by a very high voiced man.
Well, he's one of those voices. I'm sure I could look it up, but he's one of the voices who did like a bunch of famous voices in Disney movies. Like he was the Python or whatever in what's that movie? The Jungle Book. Same voice. Why don't we jump right into the highlights, Aaron? And I'm kicking it to you. What do you got?
I, I mean, the highlights are naughty high schoolers who look like they're in their 40s getting hepped up on ice cream at the soda. Obviously a Semitic looking gentleman playing the piano and looking like a maniac. And people recruiting high schoolers to come hang out at their apartment and smoke free weed. Why wouldn't you go? It's free.
That is kind
Then
of a
you go
fun.
back downstairs and get some more ice cream, I guess.
One thing that I wanted to say is that it's true. You never do see money changing hands, right? I think there's when the low
I
level
mean,
gangster
they're
guy.
busting the basic business model.
Well, I know
Of
it's you
course.
get them hooked, give them a little taste for free, and then. But there's never that moment where people are like, "Oh, damn, I have to steal from my grandmother to pay for my pot hat." Like they didn't like you think that's an easy thing to add, right? Where
You're just gonna
Rocco and
hang out
Moose
with
are
a
beating
weird
you up.
middle-aged couple and just party.
That's
Although
basically
we've
what it is.
learned there's no food, and they're also not mixing alcohol. But yeah, and I love the fact that they're just smoking. Each person gets one, and they're sucking it down like a man in the desert after you give them a glass of water. They're just like, this
Correct.
must be the weakest ditch weed that ever had. But at the same time, they're out of their freaking minds.
Well, and
You
it's
never
like you
had so
said.
much energy. You got to jump up and do the jitterbug after smoking this reefer because it's the madness. They got the
There's
Reefer Madness.
no puff puff pass, right? They each line
No.
up these huge Bob Marley blunts and just sit, and there's no sharing. They each have their own, and they sit and just puff it until they literally go insane.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what'll happen. That's
That's
science. That's facts.
well, let's I want to reel it back. Now this is 1936, so I don't know what the fashion was of the time, but there were sweater vests, everybody wearing like slacks and
High
like
waisted men's trousers.
right. So is that how kids dressed? Maybe that's how they dressed. But they seemed like upper class. This is not Skid Row. This is not the ghetto, right? This is
It's not the ghetto, but I mean, they seem pretty middle class.
but who I don't know. It's hard for me to judge based upon how they're dressed. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, they're dressed like everyone in like the 1930s. If you ever watch any old 1930s films, that's how they dress.
So
And
all
they're all
like
trim. No one's fat.
no one's fat, and if you hit 21, immediately you had to start wearing a three-piece suit everywhere you go, just to lounge
That's
around
a
the
fact.
house.
That's again a fact.
That's what I'm asking. They meet. Okay, so you
And
got
you have to wear a hat.
your fedora, right? You're
Yeah.
definitely wearing a fedora, which I get. So it's like you're right. We first meet the older couple, who is said. It seems like they're running a house of ill repute when we first meet them.
Right. I don't think they're a couple. I don't
No,
even
I agree.
they're just it's like the madam and the pimp. Except there's no sex. Well, there's sex,
So,
but
something happens
also
later,
free.
but that doesn't seem. The place is literally just designed to be a flop house where people come and smoke their weed. And I guess when we first are introduced to it, there's like she has to kind of tidy up a little bit. But it doesn't look like a crack den or anything, right? She's picking up like, oh, I'm going to take the sweater off the couch and I'm going to put it somewhere. But it's not like a total flop house.
No, I mean it's nice and clean. And please go ahead and have sex in my bedroom. I don't mind.
Well,
I mean,
that
I would
happens
be over there
later.
cracking heads, kicking down the door. Get the hell out of my place.
Right. And that was the thing. So there's the two main people who are in charge of whatever this flop house is. Then there's the college dropout, former track star, Ralph, who also seems to hang out with him quite a bit. And then Blanche, I don't know if that's her name. I'm just calling her Blanche. She's the other kind of early 20s, mid 20s, kind of older woman who hangs out with them as well. Is that what this is?
Oh, you talking about May?
Is it May?
I
I'm
don't know.
not
Are you
talking.
talking about the old woman who runs the flop house?
There's two women that are heavily involved in the weed empire. There's the woman who owns the house, and there's
Right.
another woman who's kind of the female Ralph. Like her job is to seduce Tommy or whatever the hell his name is, and she's the one who actually gets him in the bedroom after a couple puffs of weedy.
Well, it's not her job. She's always had special feelings for her. So now it's the flippity flop. It's single white male, not single white male, promising young man, where she is plying him with the devil's weed and takes advantage of him.
Right, but honestly, he doesn't need much coaxing at that stage of the game.
That's the madness of the
madness.
reefer.
So really, the main characters of the story are Tommy and Mary, and I'm sure I'm messing up the names, who are high school kids who are going steady, but seemingly all they do is like study together and, you know, a peck on the wrist. Thanks. I'll see you tomorrow for our Bible study.
Because they're not whores.
Totally. Now, Mary has a younger brother whose name I think was Billy, who is also, you know, but he seems a little wild even at the beginning, right? He seems kind of straight laced, but he likes soda when they go to the soda stand, whereas Tommy's like, oh, you know, I don't mess with that stuff. How about just a root beer then? That was a weird moment when the guy's like, I'm not having the soda. Root beer, okay, but not soda. What do you think that was about? Is it caffeine?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe so, because there's no caffeine in root beer.
There's no caffeine in root beer. I mean, that's what I'm guessing. Seemingly, we're supposed to just
that's why they're soft drinks, not hard drinks, because this is a good Christian community. So,
but even that was too much for Tommy. Tom was like, "No can do, buddy."
He's like, I can't have all that cocaine. I got to go to sleep sometime.
Well, that's the question. Was the soda just laced with opium at that stage of the game, and it makes sense to maybe pass it by? I don't know. When did Coca-Cola stop having cocaine in it?
Oh, that's a good question. Did I ever tell you that, because it's Coca, I assumed it meant like chocolate also. I thought cocaine and chocolate came from the same plant, and to me that made perfect sense because they're both so addictive.
I'm often confused about like cocoa nut. I don't understand what any of it means. When I went and got a massage, and it was called like a cocoa massage or something. I thought it was going to be like coconut. Like it was going to be kind of festive, and it wasn't. It was like it was like chocolate, but it wasn't like chocolate.
23 years before.
I don't know. Anyway, that's
so 1903, cocaine was removed, and caffeine was the sole stimulant. Apparently, it was cocaine and caffeine because you can't get enough.
You just can't get enough. No wonder I couldn't just have one. So
how about this? Once they removed the cocaine, then they removed all the medical claims because that was the good medicine in it.
Okay. It all makes sense now. Good grief.
Uh-huh.
So one thing leads to another, and I'm trying to remember. Billy goes to the soda shop first, the younger brother, and he gets lured up to the flop house, and now he's smoking the weed.
Yeah.
He's smoking the weed. But it starts, if I remember correctly, when we see the piano player playing the piano, looking skeezy as hell.
He's like a hunchback. He's all like deformed and stooped over this upright piano like a maniac. And every now and then he looks around and laughs.
Right, he had crazy hair. It was like a mad scientist. Crazy hair, of lurking. Go ahead.
We were talking about how back in the days they tried to throw this label around that it was black people that got us, that were the corruptors with the marijuana, and because it was associated with jazz. That's why we're calling it a jazz cigarette. But I think in this production, they're laying claims that it's our Jewish friends. Because dude, that dude is supposed to be Jewish, the evil piano player.
Really? That's what you took from that
corruptor.
That he's Jewish? Interesting. Because you're right.
There's not a person of color.
There's not a person of color within 100 miles of this fictional town. Clearly. I mean,
That's
it's just
true.
shades of white is what we're getting here. I don't think there's even like an Italian guy in town at this stage of the game. It's like, no. It's like Iceland, basically, is where this is. So it makes
I had read something, and it was on the internet. I read it that until World War II, Italians were not considered white.
See, there you go. Well, any excuse to be racist.
Racist.
Essentially. Any excuse to be racist. Anywho. So he gets high. And later, like, because for some reason the gangsters don't have cars, so he has to go visit the big boss, who just looks like an accountant. He's everything, like an adding machine. Crank, crank. And the
Yeah,
dude
there's no
drives
art
him.
on the wall. It's like a little empty room where he's got like two
Yes.
adding machines. Why would you need two of them?
It's like a workout
What the
routine.
hell is? What the hell was that?
But he was supposed to be
Ain't you
like the
got
big
no
boss.
secretary?
No, he does it all himself. But he was
Does it all
secretly.
himself. So I can't trust these mother effers. Yeah, you don't see him dropping money off.
They just give him a block of more like weed cigarettes or whatever. I'm trying to remember.
Yes,
what it
he
was.
calls down to the production line and they've wrapped it up in a shoebox.
That's what it was. God, this movie's so bizarre. And multiple times they're like, different people are talking about how they don't like that they're targeting the kids. It's like, hey, we don't have to target these high school kids anymore, do we? And literally one of the gangsters was like, I quit. I can't be a party to this. You know, maybe when you have kids one day, gangster, you will appreciate not wanting to get kids hooked on this junk. I'm going to go get a job at the hardware store. Something along those lines. So, crazy, crazy. So, what else you got, Aaron?
Dude, one guy, and I don't know if this is because he's older, but he's supposed to be 19 or 20. That's
one?
what you're talking about, because he's got the full suit now.
Ralph?
Clearly has no job because he's just sitting over there shotgunning one jazz cigarette after the other,
Well,
laughing out of control.
Correct. That's the one of the first signal that you are a horrible reefer addict is that you laugh uncontrollably, like the Joker. Like you just can't. Inappropriately, you're gonna laugh and laugh and laugh, which doesn't sound that bad to me, right? If you're telling me that's a drawback, I'm actually okay with that.
I will tell you from my limited experience, like the first couple of times you're laughing with people, like you say stupid things and then you laugh. You don't sit in the corner giggling and rocking to yourself
Like
unless you're freaking Renfield. What the hell is that?
Right. Absolutely. But the things go wrong because it goes from we're laughing uncontrollably to now we're just having sex in front of everybody at the party. You're jumping in my lap and let the good times roll, essentially. So, and that's bad. No can do.
You know, people do have sex when they're high. What they don't do is have so much energy that they're dancing like maniacs.
Correct.
I must have missed that party when I was in college because most people were melted into the couches listening to Dark Side of the Moon or some other bullshit or watching Highlander. They were not jitterbugging at 3 times the normal speed. That's something people were not doing with the MJ back in the day.
I always think about in the Breakfast Club, there's a moment where 4 of them
no jitterbugging in the Breakfast Club.
No jitterbugging, but it was very much like some people acted the way you'd expect, but then they cut to Emilio Estevez and he's like doing handstands and cartwheels and screaming like he's like, was his laced with something? What was the issue with him?
Dude. Somebody laced his weed. That was always the warning. Watch out. You don't know.
That was the Reefer Madness. Absolutely.
I always thought if they're going to lace it with something, I would assume they would charge more. Who's giving you free drugs? But yeah, so does that reflect on either John Hughes or the Estevez that neither one had ever gotten high before? Or what does that mean?
I wonder about that stuff because you cannot convince me that they didn't know what the effects were back in '84.
I feel like the Estevez family
they partook a little.
They may have imbibed.
You think?
Charlie Sheen, just go ask brother Charlie. He knows.
He knows.
He was not doing the jitterbug.
I think they were going
Tiger's blood, but not the jitterbug.
Winning. I think
Winning.
they were going for kind of what would be kind of a funny moment rather than going for accuracy. Because even at the time, it just seemed strange. It seemed like a weird choice. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the younger brother.
Now, a dude flexing to try to, especially in high school, doing stupid shit like that to get a girl's attention, that I believe.
But
That's
would
real.
you go into the reading room in your library and scream, ah, until all the windows exploded? No. Would you do that?
Yeah, nobody
what if you were
does
high?
That.
When you're high? Would
Not
you do
even
that?
if you're high. If you're high, if you're too high, then it's called the silent scream because you're trying to hide. Because the paranoia is then washing over you.
Right. Maybe if you're
Why
on
is
PCP,
everyone looking at me?
If you're on PCP, maybe you start screaming. Anyway, that's
dude. Maybe that was it. The weed they got from the janitor was laced with the PCP. We're lucky this is all that happened. It could have been a bloodbath.
When I was a kid, you'd hear tale of people doing like angel dust and thinking they could fly and jumping off buildings and things like that. We had to watch it in middle school and in high school. You had to learn about why drugs are bad. So tell your children.
I do believe I had to watch something about heroin in like 6th grade. We all had to go to the cafeteria. I thought, quite frankly, it was another one of those videos about menstruation where then the nurse met with you. And then they had the boys doing something else, play football, and the girls had to talk about their shame. And here are some free maxi pads.
They talked to them about their bodily functions. 100%. That's what we did. That's what we still do. Anywho, neither here nor there. Sweet Jesus.
Oh, yeah. I like the fact that the soda jerk is about 47 years old, and that's as high as it's going to be. But I have to remember, it reminds me of my favorite movie, Best Years of Our Lives, about soldiers returning to home after World War II.
Okay.
And one of the dudes, I can't remember who the it was. Anyways, a famous actor. He goes back. He was a soda jerk, but now he became an officer while he was away during the war. And literally, he was hoping for like a management job. He got married before he shipped out. And literally, they're going to put him back being a soda jerk before. So now, like, a 17-year-old is now his boss. So I was looking at this. I'm like, he's like a 47-year-old man, clearly scarred from World War I. And he's so embittered with the world. That's why he's like, you seem cool. Why don't you head up to Maze for some jazz cigarettes?
Because her boyfriend, they slip him a cigarette. There's a lot of like, you think it's a tobacco cigarette, but really it's a marijuana cigarette. And we don't tell you, and you don't notice the difference, which seems insane to me. I think you'd notice the difference.
I mean, okay, so you're hand rolling your cigarettes. Okay. I mean, I know people who do that. But one would think the wildly different flavor and smell might be a clip. I mean, if I ask for a glass of water and someone hands me a glass of vodka, I might notice that.
You wouldn't immediately start slugging vodka and turn into an alcoholic instantly?
Glug, 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 glug.
Right.
Oh my God. That's how I realized one of my neighbors in Long Beach was clearly an alcoholic because Willie was a tiny baby and I was over visiting. He grabbed her water bottle to take a drink and she snatched it away. And I realized it was vodka. She was sitting on her front porch with sports bottles of vodka.
That is crazy.
I was like, ay.
That's rough sledding. No question.
I'm like, okay, time for to go home, baby. Willie needs a nap. Tranquilly. No wonder you're sitting out here making comments. Back to the show though. One of the best things is they're out of their marijuana cigarettes because they're getting them from the dealer pre-rolled. So that's nice. That is nice. And our underworld dude doesn't have a car. It's cars in the shop. So he gets a high 17-year-old to drive him over to the drug house, to the underbelly of the underworld in this small town USA. And the kid asks for a jazz cigarette while the boss goes inside, and he's like puffing it. It was like, literally, when I see people fake smoke, I always say they're smoking it like Reefer Madness. Puffing away at it. So by the time the dude comes back with his shoebox full of marijuana cigarettes, homie is out of control. He is slamming on the gas. Dear God, his car was hovering between 40 and 50 miles an hour like a maniac. Wouldn't you be like, dude, why don't you let me drive? Because I haven't been smoking the jazz cigarettes at all. No. He like runs down a dude in the street, and it was just hysterical. I don't condone smoking and driving and running down old people, but if you're going to do it in a hilarious way. It makes me wonder, how fast could cars go? Did cars go 2 miles an hour? Was it as slow as a horse? I mean, a horse, what does it do? About on a gallop, 25 miles per hour? I would assume you drive at least as fast as a running horse, but maybe not, because they were like, oh, Lord, it's all the way up to 50. Ah!
Well, what's interesting is later in the movie, the gangster comes up and says, yeah, that guy you ran over is dead, but don't worry, no one will ever tie it back to you. And he's like, oh, thank goodness. And then no one ever does. He gets away scot-free. And there's never a moment of him having remorse. A woman throws herself out
and
of
the
the
guy
window.
didn't die. It's a
He did
lie.
die.
No, they told the sister that he didn't die.
Well, that was later. See, I thought it was he hadn't died yet, and then later, when the guy says now he has died.
I thought they were just saying that for leverage. We'll never know,
maybe.
Kevin.
We'll never know. There's no rhyme or reason to any of this stuff. But you're right. The cops did a half-assed job. Do you have a car? Yeah, but I wasn't driving it. Okay, good enough. I don't need to look at the car. It's like there could have been
I don't need to see
splattered all over
Investigation
the car.
over.
There could have been a limb or something sticking out of the grill, but no need to look. It's fine. Moving on. Good grief.
I mean, this is why there's questions about the Lindbergh kidnapping and death of the baby, because this is our level of police work.
This is absolutely. This
is why Al Capone was on the streets for so long.
That's correct. So now, later in the movie, there's a tussle over a handgun, and poor Amy gets shot to death. And then Tommy thinks he did it because the gangster popped him on the head and put the gun in his hand and said, oh, yeah, you did it. So
you did it. Shame on you.
He's about to go to jail over it. About to go to jail because his virginal girlfriend, who never hurt a soul, although she almost got raped after somebody slipped her a jazz cigarette. But she dodged that, but didn't dodge the bullet. Sad to say.
She didn't dodge that bullet. No. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. So also didn't realize that you have full-blown hallucinations when you smoke the MJ. So homie was trying to rape her, and she's screaming and yelling, not doing a very effective job. And he comes out and sees just the opposite. In his mind, she's giving him the old, come on, big boy, give me a smoochie. So that's when he loses his mind and the fight breaks out.
That alerts everybody in the apartment, not the screams of help, I'm being raped. But so he's about to go to jail, but then the other woman who was there, who he was having sex with in the back room, feels so guilty. And so does Ralph. So does the attempted rapist. They both feel so guilty that Ralph smokes himself into catatonia, so he'll have to spend the rest of his life in an insane asylum. And whatever her name is, she reveals the truth right before she tosses her ass out the window and commits suicide. And that's
I do remember hearing tales about this. This legacy lives on. I have heard tales about, smoking weed or taking acid or mushrooms can unlock the schizophrenia that's waiting inside you like a ticking time bomb.
Absolutely.
You just don't know.
Don't
You
mess
just
with
don't. It's
it.
like COVID. You don't know what underlying medical issues are waiting for you inside
Your
until you smoke weed or get
comorbidities.
COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a whole
You
thing.
don't know.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
needless
I'm going to ask
needless
RFK what he thinks.
Absolutely. Well, he's the only one we can trust. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh, Lord.
Needless to say, if you smoke weed, you will become a murderer, a rapist, suicidal, you'll catatonic. The list goes on and on of the horrible side effects. But you're also having
It's
fun while
true.
you're doing it, so I don't know.
You're having
6
fun
of
for a
1.
little while, but your parents will cry at your swinging corpse in the town square. It's inevitable.
It is inevitable. Any last thoughts of Reefer Madness, Aaron?
Live fast, die young.
That's your advice? That's not good.
I think that's the lesson here, really.
I think it's meant to be the opposite of that. Live slow, live a long time. Anywho, let's go behind the scenes, shall we? Let's see. Inspired by the case of Victor Licata, who killed his father, mother, 2 brothers, and a sister with an axe in Tampa, Florida, allegedly while under the influence of marijuana. So later they realized, well, he already had schizophrenia with homicidal tendencies. So really had nothing to do with the weed after all. So good to know. A special edition DVD of the film was released in 2004 with an outrageously non-realistic colorization. Like half the time, it seemed like they were breathing in mustard gas, or it was
It
purple, or
is.
chlorine gas, or what was happening.
Dude, well, they came out of, their parents came out of World War I. So maybe it is mustard gas. It's like in their DNA.
Clearly, it's a sad situation.
Oh, we didn't even talk about, we had to watch some shitty colorized version. I had some person that I work with who was posting that he loves I Love Lucy, and he made a point of buying the complete colorized version because
That's ridiculous.
that makes more sense. And I told him he's out of his fucking mind.
That's madness. But I will say, I found the colorization of this. I enjoyed it. I preferred the
You're like,
ridiculous
because you were on the
colorization.
LSD. Oh, the colors. How about the freaking? I mean, this whole thing is told by the school principal who is rallying the parents. Literally, his glasses. Underneath the glasses, there are blue circles where his eyes would be.
Right.
I don't know who did the coloring. I think somebody on the Reefer Madness was doing the colorizing because it made no goddamn sense. I didn't know everybody in the 30s was wearing pastels.
There's a lot of pastels back then, let me tell you.
Uh.
This film became one of the earliest cult comedy hits during the golden age of the midnight movie, in which theaters, especially those near colleges, would run the film at special screenings late at night during the weekends.
What is the golden age of the midnight movies? Because honestly, I think Halloween, they'll play Rocky Horror here.
Right.
And we grew up in Palm Springs, so there was no midnight movies. I had to go with my drama friends to stay at our grandmother's house to go see Rocky Horror Picture. Otherwise, I was never going to be able to see it in my lifetime.
Well, I think it was Reefer Madness was the first, then it was Night of the Living Dead, and then later it was Rocky Horror Picture
So what are we
Show.
talking about? The 70s?
I guess, right? Into the 80s? Probably the 60s
Yeah.
too, though. Who's to say?
Was it? I don't know.
The musical number playing on the phonograph at the Reefer Party is the same one the Three Stooges played in the short Disorder in the Court in 1936. I don't think it was that one, but perhaps.
That would be funny. And then all of a sudden, Mo and Curly and Curly Joe come in and
Not
start
Curly
cracking
Joe.
heads. Come on, you stoners. Doink, crunch.
What's funny is the guy who played the judge in this movie also played the judge in Disorder in the Court with the Three Stooges. So
I like
it's
that
all
you
coming
have
back.
your Three Stooges episodes memorized.
You know it, don't you?
I think Moe's a sociopath. He might have been on the reefer.
A little bit. If you looked at the newspaper like headlines when they were talking about the verdict at the end of the story, one of the smaller headlines was Dick Tracy G-Men lead successful raid.
I did see that. I
It
did
was
see
right.
that. I was like, what the I thought maybe they were trying to do an Untouchables. Maybe they were calling what's his name? By the way, I saw the Untouchables recently, and Kevin Costner sucks.
You
Sean
just hate Kevin
Connery is an
Costner.
icon. He is so stiff. He emotes no emotion. He is a robot, even when Sean Connery is dead.
He's not great in it. I'm not gonna
He's
deny
not
that.
great in it.
But
It's
the
Sean
idea,
Connery stealing every scene.
of course, he won an Academy Award for that.
Oh my
Dorothy
God, it wasn't
Short, who
that great.
played Dorothy Short, who played Mary, and Dave O'Brien, who played Ralph, her rapist, were married 2
Yes.
years before this film was released.
Oh my
So there you go.
Were they actors, or was this an Ed Wood, where like it's just people from the church that are sponsoring this?
No, they were actors. Another thing that's interesting about this
You gonna
movie,
tell me other things they were in? Or were they in like the Maltese
eventually
Falcon?
I might.
Were they
Eventually
in
I
like
might.
a Fred Astaire film or something?
They
All right, continue on.
Could be. We didn't even talk about how the movie was released as Tell Your Children in 1936. In 1938, a different producer got a hold of it and added quote unquote salacious scenes to it and changed the title to Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
So they added scenes like she's putting on her stocking, getting ready for the evening, and during the lovemaking scene, you see her shoulder in an alluring fashion. So it was highly erotic.
If she wasn't wearing stockings, she'd be a whore. So there you go.
Clearly. Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we?
Let's go. Anybody do anything?
You'd be surprised, actually.
Lay it on me. I do know old movies, so let's go.
Let's see. Dorothy Short played Mary, the sweet girl who gets gunned down in the prime of life. You know her from such things as Reefer Madness.
Oh.
Code of the Cactus, starring Tim McCoy.
I don't even know what that means.
Daughter
Do
of the
cactuses have codes?
Could be. Daughter of the Tong. I don't even know what that means, in 1939. And Phantom Rancher in 1940.
So not much.
Those are the top four that people mentioned. Dave O'Brien played Ralph, the rapist. You know him
Ralph the
from such
Rapist. It
things.
rhymes.
He was in Reefer Madness in 1938. He was a writer for 348 episodes of the Red Skelton Hour from 1955 to 1970. How about that? I remember going to Red Skelton's house with Mom one time. Just peeking in the window?
No, I think Mom knew his wife.
I don't believe that.
Shut up.
He played the titular character Captain Midnight in 1942.
That sounds like a porno.
Could be. And he was in Trail of Terror in 1943.
Ooh. I feel like these are all Western horror films.
Could be.
Or gay porn, I don't know.
May was played by Thelma White. You know her from such things as Reefer Madness. Susie's Affairs in 1934.
Was that Red Shoe Diaries for the 1930s?
Could be. Wanted by the Police in 1938. And The Moon's Our Home in 1936. You know that one?
Okay. I'm not hearing good things. Continue.
Let's see. Carlton Young played Jack. He was the evil drug dealer. You know him from The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance in 1962.
See, he looked like he might have been around. Okay, that's real.
Reefer Madness, 1938. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in 1954.
See? Real.
And
I love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, by the way.
That's a good one. And he was in Dick Tracy in 1937. So
Those are things that I have heard of. Everybody else was waiting in the food line.
Well, I'm going to look up Bill.
And it was like, do I make this film or do I just go ahead and slide into drug abuse and prostitution?
That is a question. Bill doesn't have a picture here, so let's see what else he did. Just Reefer Madness. So there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Some people did nothing else, but some people did quite a few things. How about them apples? Let's look at
quite a few.
Let's look at the rating, shall we?
What about the madam? Did you do the madam?
Blanche.
Yes, was Blanche Dubois.
Lillian Miles played Blanche. You know her from Reefer Madness. She was in The Gay Divorcee in 1934.
That's a real movie.
That's Rogers and Astaire. She was in Code of the Mounted.
Okay, gay porn. Next.
Something called Man Against Woman, which I'm unfamiliar with.
Hey, Gay Divorcee, that was big.
That's a real movie.
I thought she looked vaguely familiar, but who knows? It's like that certain kind of housewifey 1930s lady look.
That's correct. Let's see. Reefer Madness on Rotten Tomatoes currently has 39% rotten. Do you know what the audience gave it?
86.
37% rotten. We got 3 top critics. Keith Phipps of the AV Club says, Esper's 1936 film deserves its reputation as one of the most entertainingly bad movies ever made. These are positive reviews, by the way.
Yeah.
Dave Kerr from the Chicago Reader says, the original anti-marijuana film, 1936, offering the true inside story of the devil weed that drives men to savage lusts and women to unspeakable depravities, along with a little bit of dumb fun.
I love the unspeakable depravities is one lady had sex on a chaise lounge in someone's room. That's the unspeakable depravity.
Well, we're speaking of it now.
They didn't even do it in the butt. Come on.
Oh, shit. Took a turn there. John Duquesne from Time Out says, one of the most absurdly earnest exercises in paranoia you'll ever have the good fortune to see. Positive review.
Yeah.
Let's check in with our house critic, AI Rex Reed, and see what he has to say. Reefer Madness is the cinematic equivalent of your great aunt's Facebook rant about jazz cigarettes. Hysterical, outdated, and accidentally hilarious. Thanks, Rex.
And we've talked about that. We've talked about you can't make a bad film. It just happens organically.
Correct.
Otherwise, you know it, and that it's a fraud and it loses it. It's a small miracle every time a terrible film is created, one that's so terrible it's funny.
Right. So bad it's good has to happen organically. You can't set out to make it or it's painful and annoying. What is your rating for Reefer Madness, Aaron?
Well, brother, this is what I'm going to tell you.
Please.
It was hysterical when I was in my 20s. Now that I've seen it 37,000 times, it's a little less hysterical, but I still want to give it a high rating. So here we go.
Okay.
I'm just going to give it 3.5 jazz cigarettes out of 4. And make sure, gentlemen, you're wearing your high-waisted trousers because it is iconic. It should be watched with The Room or Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's your triple feature.
Well, I mean, and I'll say this. It is little over an hour.
Let me, I'm not quite done, sir.
Oh,
pardon me.
So pump the brakes, please.
Pardon me. This is not to be watched at 8 a.m. with your Cocoa Pebbles and a cup of coffee. This is after you've come home from the bar. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. You pop it on.
It's, as I was saying, it's about an hour, which means it's just the right length. When it is funny, it is actually quite funny. But there's a lot of time where it's just kind of like, okay, moving on. Get on with the show. I would say I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5. It's just
What
kind
the
of.
hell, Kevin?
It's not, honestly, even at its funniest, it's not like a knee slapper. You know what I mean? It's fine. It's fine. But it's an hour. So I would
What would
say
you give The Room? What
The
did you
Room,
give The Room?
on a scale of 1 to 5, I would give that a 13. It is a mark of brilliance. No, it's
Shut
no.
the
The Room is
hell.
boring. The Room is unspeakably boring. And there's certain movies, and this is kind of like that, where you need to watch it in a group setting, where everyone's had a few pops or a couple of J's, whatever you need
Then
to
it just
do.
plays in the background, right?
Right, right. If you sit down to watch it, you're not going to appreciate it as much. I will say.
You got the DJ over, and you want to project something on the wall, and your copy of the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo has disappeared. Just
Please
project this on the wall. Just let it play. People
get
will drift in and out of the room going, what the hell is this?
get the jazz pianist with a big old joint in his mouth, looking around insane while he plays the piano, and then pop it in. I would say that's probably the best way. So, any last thoughts on Reefer Madness, Aaron?
Ah,
Okay.
I got nothing else to say.
I got nothing. So, thank you very much. We are across social media. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Threads. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. You might also be watching us on YouTube. Thank you very much for checking us out, our beautiful faces. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review, won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I'm on the media. If I could remember what my password for Tumblr was, I would delete Tumblr. But I'm on the Flickr. I'm on the Instagram. I'm here and there. The Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I have artwork on Artsy and First Digs, and apparently one of my pictures is going to be published in a magazine. I just found out this morning, so I'm waiting to get the details. So very excited about that. No monetary compensation, of course. Artists and musicians, we all get the privilege of doing stuff for free for people.
That's what it is. Art
That's
is
what
free,
it is. It probably cost me
allegedly.
$300 of film to come up with that one picture, but
Well, it's a
something else
counts.
to pad the resume, my friend.
So check out all that good stuff. Aaron,
Yes.
we like to share the thoughts and feelings of our friends across social media. Aaron, what are our friends saying? What do you got?
Most of these comments are about Nosferatu.
Okay.
I had posted who gets recast: William Dafoe, the Depp girl, or what's his name? Bill.
Bill
And
Skarsgård?
Richard Roberts says, "Get rid of the girl."
I
I kind
totally
of liked
agree.
her. I honestly
Totally.
get rid
I
of the
didn't take Winona
Skarsgård.
Ryder over her at this stage of the game.
Oh, come on, that's a bridge too far. Jesse X73 replied to my comment about which of the three versions that are almost identical of Nosferatu is your favorite. Jesse announced that the original cult classic masterpiece, even in its own time. Jesse X73 also talked about they had an art mentor who forced them to watch the original when they were 16. I think in general, people who have seen all three prefer the original. Richard Roberts commented that the current version is okay. Let's see here. Con, oh my god, people and their complicated things. Con NV1C T3D15745.
You don't need to read all that. That's a bot.
I didn't need it didn't need to be made, but I think it's cool, so I enjoyed it.
Fair.
And Spider-Man commented, You just know some producer is currently writing Nosferatu 2 Electric Boogaloo. And I think that's the movie we all need to see.
Absolutely. Sweet Jesus. Next week, I asked Erin what movie she'd like to do, and she shocked me. We are doing Repo! Exclamation point. The Genetic Opera, starring the girl from Spy Kids, Paul Sorvino, Sarah Brightman from The Phantom of the Opera, and Paris Hilton.
And Anthony Head.
Pardon me. The professorial type from frickin' Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hell yes.
Series. Oh, if you want to get deep, the guy who played Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is also in this. So it's
how
an
can you deny
cast.
it? It's an all-star. The fact that I was like, is that fucking Sarah Brightman? I was like, that immediately lended all kind of credibility.
100%. So, where can you watch Repo, the Genetic Opera, not to be confused with Repo Man, starring Emilio Estevez? You can.
And Harry Dean Stanton.
And correct. Fandango at home with ads, Pluto TV with ads, Plex is free, Prime Video with ads. So a lot of things with ads. I think that'll get the job done. You don't want to pay for this one. So check it out.
What?
Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
I say good day.